So you've already seen TexAgs Rewind's intro. I'm a little bit more somber because that's how Nick addressed me a moment ago. We're presented by Yeti. Nick, help us figure out what was on the show today.
Well, we had J.D. PicKell let us off. He was actually after Sean Porter.
He was halftime.
Yeah, I mean, but he's at the front of the rewind. That's just how it's going to work today, all right? Then we had Sean Porter, former A&M linebacker. He stopped by, talked about Johnny, and talked about the defense. Fun to hear from him. And, of course, Billy Liucci, 23-23, and gave his thoughts on the Aggie quarterbacks.
Thanks for leaving me something to talk about. It's TexAgs Rewind.
Yeah, it's a bit of a guessing game at this point, obviously. So we're kind of trying to piece together what Bobby Petrino has done over the years. And I think when you put it down into like categories, I could say he's going to stick to that principle of we're going to feed the studs, right? Which if you're an A&M fan, that's obviously music to your ears. We're going to get the football to our best players. Now, how we do that, that's probably going to vary, whether it's running the football and getting downhill or whether it's running some shallow crossing patterns to have an all coverage beater or whatever it looks like. We're getting the ball to our best players. And I think one of the most indicative stats last year for Texas A&M's offense, they were pretty unbalanced. Like they were 46% run to pass, which is 99th in the country in terms of how frequently they ran the football. And so if you're a Texas A&M fan, saying, okay, we're not being balanced, that doesn't sound good, but what does that actually mean? When you're not balanced, it means a couple of things. It means, one, the defense is able to kind of key on some tendencies that you're starting to tip your hand a little bit as an offense. The other part is if you're unbalanced, you're probably not feeding the studs like Bobby Petrino wants to. You're probably not involving the maximized potential of what your skill players could equate to. So I think as a whole, I expect a lot more hands to touch the football a lot more frequently. And I think you'll see the Texas A&M offense as a whole kind of dictate terms to defenses when they play. And it won't be like, hey, we're taking away Evan Stewart. What are you going to do about it? I think Bobby Petrino will say, okay, well, we're scheming up different things to for sure get the ball to Evan Stewart. And that's how we're going to roll each and every Saturday. So I think it'll be a lot more definitive and a lot more of a complete identity when I look at what Texas A&M is going to be in 2023.
So you mentioned 46% running, that it isn't balanced. So what is balanced, 50-50 in your eyes, or you just want to have the bigger number on the run game?
Yeah, I think you just want to see a little bit bigger of a number because I think if they were somewhere in the range of like even 48%, you say, okay, we're able to be a little bit more structured in how we're approaching this, because 46% tells me that they were just trying to get the ball out and about, out in space. And it also tells you probably didn't have what you needed on that offensive line to be able to be successful last year, or you weren't getting the looks or whatever it comes down to. The offensive line wasn't getting it done. So you were probably in a lot of 3rd and long, 3rd and 7 to 10 kind of situations. So
how early in the process was it apparent, all right, this team could be special? Like 2012, this team could be special. And then some seasons that weren't so special. How early could you tell, I don't know if we're going to be what we thought we'd be?
Well, my freshman year, I came in and I kind of knew it was coming, man. Like we were gonna get beat over the head all year, but it was just because we didn't have a complete team at that point, at that moment, you know. And then my next couple of years, it was kind of the same thing, just building it up. My junior year, we actually had a really, really good team. We really could have, you know, competed for anything we wanted to if we stayed a little bit more focused. We lost all those games by just 3 points and 1 point, and you know, we had a lot of real close losses. But definitely going into 2012, I definitely knew what was coming. Like I knew how good we were. I knew we were loaded on offense and on defense. I knew that we had this special couple of freshmen that the rest of the country didn't know that we had. So you know, so that matched up with just our experience as seniors. We had a huge senior class. My senior class was big. We broke a record. We started the most freshmen ever when we were freshmen. It was like 18 or 19 freshmen starting for us out there. And then by the time we were seniors, I think, I don't know, maybe 10 or 13 of us ended up going to the NFL. So that group was really strong, added with a couple of very special players like Johnny and Mike and you know, that strong offensive line who all of them went to the NFL too. We had a really, really loaded team. And it's just, I think other people just didn't realize how loaded we were.
I want to go back to that 2011 season that you mentioned because it sounds somewhat similar, even though that team was much more successful than what we saw last year. But those one-score games and those games that you lost by 3-4 points, that was A&M season all last year with a bunch of young players. And that position overall, one of the things I know that you focused on recently, it's still a legit quarterback battle, contrary to what people are saying out there. those guys are going back and forth, and Max has his good days. Connor has his good days. That's not to say that they're having bad days. Just sometimes guys have better days.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, like everybody wants updates, and they get updates, and then they get, you know, you leave a name out, or you're not raving about somebody. And sometimes, and this is not the case at quarterback, sometimes I'm leaving guys out because they're banged up and they haven't practiced much, but it's nothing significant. But if you say that, then becomes the, oh my God, what's wrong? We're getting decimated at position X again. We're getting, you know, just like at tight end, you know, Jake's missed a few days here and there. Donovan had been banged up a little. Max had that toe thing Jimbo talked about. If I say all those things at once, everybody says, oh my God, rampant attrition. And I should worry less about what the reaction of people and just say it. But the other flip side of it is, when you talk about quarterbacks and the defense controlled, you know, definitely got the better of a scrimmage, particularly the first team defense. And you say that it wasn't, you know, Connor's best day or what, you know, I think I got to go back and reread. I don't know if I said both. I don't think either quarterback lit up that first scrimmage, and that had way more to do with the defense and the front than it did quarterback play. But everybody took it and ran with it. It was really a way to say, hey, you know, Max coming off the scrimmage had his 2 best days of camp and was really good. That's in no way a shot at Connor. That doesn't talk about, I think I've been pretty clear what I think about Connor and who I think will win the job, but I've also been clear that there's a battle going on.
Number 6 on the list, Bryce Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Foster.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most talented football players in this program. I think one of the best football players on the field for A&M the last 2 years when he's been healthy. Obviously, he suffered that season-ending injury last year and was out with was mono, really affected his fall camp last year. Came back in. I heard you guys talking this morning about the track thing, and Olin said, you know, well, if he loves football, you know, just splitting time doesn't mean you don't love it. But I think for Bryce, like, he's one of the best players on this team. He is a complete game changer on this offensive line. When he's in versus when he's not in, it is a massive difference. There are other guys that can play center here at a high level, I think at a higher level than what we saw last season, but Bryce is still the best. And when Bryce is your center and a guy like Mark Naboo can be available if need be at either guard spot, because he's ready to start. It's a matter of when, not if. So when he can be ready at either guard spot and center if need be, but you know, if the need becomes available, and also to push the other guards, Layden and Cam and anybody else, Moko, anybody else in those spots, you automatically become a much better offensive line, not just in the 5 on the field on Saturdays, but also in what Steve Adazio can do in case of emergency in game. It frees up. I think Naboo is going to be an exceptional lineman, and Bryce's excellence in the middle allows you to have he's your top interior guy that's ready to go in a moment's notice and finish you a game.
All right, Nick, we're going to close it out. I'd have Hannah or whoever was next to you. Was Zoe there? I don't even know.
Well,
but they were there.
They were, but
who's left?
yeah, it's just Zoe.
So can you have Zoe tell people what to do?
Zoe, tell the people what to do.
Okay, people, so you're going to like the video. You're going to subscribe so that we can get to 10,000 subscribers so Nick can keep his job. And then you're going to comment, and you're going to share with a friend because sharing is caring. So,
have you told your friends to subscribe?
All of my friends work here, so.
Sounds like me. Thank you, Zoe.